that was that?
Well, they want to make a new, they're calling it a water committee, or ward something, park ward. So I stuck my hand up and said I'll be on it. Means we meet every month in between, and we discuss things going on in the local area, and advising the police on what to do about it. It's not like
Out of the church in Wales, for many years, 4 or 5 years, I was on our residence committee. But then, 2 ladies started fighting. Every meeting was fighting. I decided, I don't want to fight.
Shall I send it to her?
And I was fighting all the time. And that was different.
Yeah.
And I said, and I thought it was I raised it a few times. I said,
She's
this has to stop.
Yeah.
You need to get on with the things that are meant to be done.
Yeah, sure.
And then it carried on for weeks and weeks. And I said, that's it, I'm resigning. So I stopped down. It was affecting my health. I was doing much.
Well, when people start to argue on a committee that I'm on, I just keep quiet and ignore it. Don't get involved. If they want to do it themselves.
But it's good if other things get done. If nothing gets done, then it's pretty bad. If nothing gets done.
I could lovely flowers today.
Are they real flowers?
She mixes real flowers with silk flowers. It's a combination of both. She keeps silk flowers up in that bag,
Some actually real.
and then she puts in a few.
Actually, I'm not sure any of them are real.
And we don't pay for them. She doesn't want any money. She said it's my offering. So she's a lovely lady. I think a lot of them are silk, but they're very well
No,
done.
there are some real ones. Some are special.
Every week she contacts me to find out if we have a service or not.
Who does that to me? Somebody does that to me. Tycho's always asking me.
Yes, she asked me too, yeah, because of the flowers.
And I said, yes, and explain to her the second and fourth Sunday is like a
No, but she still likes to make sure with a voice on the telephone. That's fine. Well, otherwise, she wouldn't have contact otherwise.
Yes.
So expenses is okay.
Oh, MC is. Right.
No.
No, I don't need to.
Which MC?
Here.
I put some great reports out there.
No.
The Uganda report, Philippines report, Ghana report. You know, they sent one presentation to the Congo to introduce rates. They read that in the second. They sent me nice reports. Community connection.
It's a nice
Now,
logo.
who designed the logo?
Could have been Kieran. Would you like to bring the next point?
Did you design the logo?
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, not necessarily that. I just added a few things. I believe that's an image from our community somewhere.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think we'll definitely keep that. It's lovely.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say hello, everybody, and welcome to our first community connection. And I want to put an emphasis on first. We want to be able to create opportunities more often for our communities to have a platform to share their projects, their ideas, to be able to discuss how we can better our community and how we can, better that in the sense of our internal community, our movement here, our brothers and sisters and our elders that we know here within our religious sphere, and of course going beyond our walls here and looking beyond that as well into our local society, right? That may be things like around my neighborhood, it may be things like my peers, it may be things like my religious connections, right? We have a lot of religious connection through different organizations that we have in our movement. We wanted to provide a space that could foster ideas and initiatives, and hopefully through hearing some things from people who are already championing projects in and around our communities, you too will feel inspired to also get involved and stuck in some of those activities and projects, or create some new ones, and you also become community champions, which is something that we'll talk about through a little bit later. Of course, I want to say hello to everyone that is online. Thank you for joining us as well. And again, this is the beginning of something that we really want to create in our community, which can help us really find an identity and a vision that can really bring us together and help us move forwards with some sort of purpose, with some sort of direction, with a unified understanding. I just want to quickly run through a few things just so we are aware of how today will proceed. We will have a talk about becoming a community champion, which is something that we have introduced into the Central London community previously. And we want to sort of reintroduce it and sort of bring that back, give that some new life. We will be hearing some project pitches. So again, from people who are already championing projects and activities in and around our community related to different bodies. We want to be able to hear from them and hear how their progress is going and how things are going there. And we'll then have a 15-minute break just to allow us to have some teas and coffees and stretch our legs and catch our breath and And then we will gather back afterwards for a convention-style gathering. So as you can see, there's sort of some areas dotted around with some images and posters and things. And the idea for that, which I'll explain a little bit further on, is so that we can have opportunities to have conversations through what we hear today, through some of the ideas we're coming forwards already. And I believe, some of us maybe have some embryonic ideas growing of something. Maybe it's a small, like, what about for these people? Or how can I help my brothers and sisters here and there? And through this convention-style setup, we hope to be able to foster those conversations and help you be able to find some sort of structure and direction in being able to complete those goals and actually bring something forwards that can really impact our community here and, of course, reaching outwards. Before we move further in, I'd like to invite up our pastor, William Haynes, to be able to just share a few words on this vision that we have. As you can see, and maybe you've seen before, we have sort of 3 areas, right? Worshipping God, building communities, and serving society. And this, I feel like, was more of a brainchild of our uncle and pastor, William Haynes. And I just want to be able to invite him up to share a few words with you about how that came about and his vision of those 3 sort of pillars for us here today. Thank you. Please invite him up.
Thank you. Maybe you could just say a prayer. Mighty Heavenly Parent, we thank you so much we can gather together for this community connections, first of hopefully many. We ask you to bless our proceedings, that you can be present in all that we think, say and do, so we can take your providence forward in this country and around the world. I offer this prayer on behalf of everyone here. William Haynes, Central Blessed Family, I urge you. So, good morning. As Kieran said, I'll try and limit it to very few words, nothing less, certainly keep it less than 40 minutes. So these 3 objectives, you might say, or goals or whatever, that Kieran mentioned. First, worship God. Well, that's obvious. We're only here because of God. God created us, and just like as our heavenly parent, God created us. And just like children look up to and they adore their parents and they worship their parents, so also we should adore and look up to and worship God and invite God to be in every aspect and every part of our lives. Just like, if you're parents, you want to be there with your children, watching them, sharing, listening to what they say, how they got on at school and everything. And God also wants the same relationship we have with our children, who want to be intimately involved in everything. And God wants the same with us. And just like children look up to and worship their parents, adore their parents, we also should look up to, worship and adore God and bring God into the center of our community. So this is one of the, obviously it's the first, and want to develop our worship service, and so that people can feel the presence of God and the Holy Spirit, and then people can feel their lives uplifted and enriched and renewed through that. And the second, as Kira mentioned, was building community. So because of True Parents, and we met each other. We also met God and the principle through that. And many of us are blessed together, and we have families. And so we want to build that into a community. They're sharing together, encouraging each other, helping each other. And so one of the things started off with this little group thing. Some of the groups took off, some didn't. Also the newsletter, which Peter Schroeder kindly took up, again, so we can listen to each other's stories, to get to know what's going on within our community, but there are many, many other things as well on that. But also, we don't exist for ourselves. Yeah, we didn't join this community for the sake of community. We did it because God called us as part of His providence to restore the world in which we're living. And the world in which we're living is the world that we live and encounter every day. So it's not necessarily the other side of the world, it's just whoever I happen to be sitting next to, my neighbour. And that's not just the person, your immediate neighbour, you live next to, it's whoever you happen to be sitting next to on the bus. That's your neighbour for that moment. This is all part of our world. So we want to get involved in serving society. And I know many, as Kira mentioned, that many of us are involved in all kinds of projects. So we want to support that. As you know, we have quite a lot of money in our community, and we want to use that to be able to advance God's providence and to be able to support, members of our community in the different projects that they've come up with. They feel God has called them to do, and so we can support and help each other in that sort of thing. Not for the purpose of outreach, but to serve society. It may be in the process of that some people want to know, why are you doing this? And then you can share why you're doing it. In that sense, you can witness to people. But the purpose is not to do things in ulterior motive, but to do things for the sake of doing them, to help people in some way. Okay, so that's enough from me. So I'll hand you back to Kieran. And hello, everybody who's online. God bless you all. Hope you have a great week, and I hope you enjoy our little meeting here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor William. Again, we're going to hear a lot of these pillars, these three objectives, and it's going to be sort of a running theme throughout this day, and hopefully something that can really take root in our community and be part of our identity and our vision that we are trying to create. Worship, building community, and serving society. Now, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce community champions. So this was something I mentioned just a little bit earlier, and we've probably heard it thrown around here and there in the WhatsApp group and so on and so forth, and you're wondering, what's that about? What does that mean? Sounds cool. I want to be part of it. So if we could have the presentation for community champions up on the screen, and I will explain a little bit more about what this is, what it's about, and it will also help to hopefully help us to understand what we're trying to do here with community connections. So do you have an idea for a community project, and would you like to make it happen? This is a question that I feel like we should ask ourselves a little bit more regularly. I like to frame it as, where can I help? How can I help? What can I do? You know, just, it doesn't need to be big, just something, okay. Is there a need that I can fill? And how can I fill that? Introducing community champions. So this is where community champions comes in. Next slide, please. Introducing community champions, a platform to empower every community member to make an offering. Again, it doesn't have to be big. And it's an opportunity to really take ownership of our community. You know, there are times where you can feel like we are given and receive a lot. We come to service and we receive message and we receive music and we receive a lot, but there's always a time and a space to be able to give, and that is ultimately how I believe we are here for, you know, to return joy to God. And it is really amazing to be able to do that. So Community Champions is a platform which is trying to help us do that. And the big things is probably trying to figure out, how can I do that? What can I do? Having an idea is one thing, but really trying to figure out the way forwards is another thing. Next slide, please. So again, asking ourselves, do you live your life as though you were measuring it? Don't live your life as though you were measuring it with a ruler. So for me, this quote is saying, it's not about how much we do or how big it is or how amazing it is. It's all about the effort. And if we keep on counting and calculating and things like that, we miss the point. We miss the inherent value of purely giving. And so I feel like that is sometimes what hinders us from being able to have that pure heart of giving, of serving, of helping. Next slide, please. So ultimately, okay, what is it about? It is a network and a platform to spotlight, nurture, and celebrate community champions across the North Thames area. People who are championing projects, who are really trying to serve society, who are trying to help, live for the sake of others, and offer something ultimately to God. It offers support in the shape of small grants and access to diversity and breadth of experience across our communities, including potential partners and volunteers. You may have an existing project that you would like to now scale up, or you may be ready to start on that irrepressible idea that has been willing you to make it happen. So again, sometimes the idea is the easy part, and it's trying to figure out how to do it, or where the resources, or what can I do? How can I, physically substantiate it? And that is what we are trying to do here through the opportunity to present your ideas and garner experience or volunteers from the community who maybe feel, yes, that struck a chord with me, I want to help. Or through our committee. We have a committee for North Thames, and we have not the most amount of experience, but we have some experience in different areas. I, for one, in a lot of youth activities. And we maybe also know who to talk to, where to reach, and that can also be a great resource to have. We're also offering grants to be able to help you fund your activities, because again, finances is a big issue sometimes. And it doesn't have to just stop with receiving an official grant. We here can be donators. And so that is the point of Community Champions. That is the point of Community Connect. Next slide, please. So projects, activities like what? So this was originally launched originally as a community building project fund. And we have funded many different things. So we're looking now further back into central London before the merger. And we had funded different activities like short documentaries and films, we had peace, art competitions, and service projects. And so now these are some ideas that we have supported and currently are supporting many more, which I will mention further on later. And it's ideas like this that are looking, to either serve society in a small way, serve our church community, or deliver an impact in different ways. And it doesn't have to be something like, tribal messiah, so and so forth, or interreligious something or other. It can be artistic, it can be creative, it can be fun. The main aim is to be able to offer something to God and offer those things to God. Next slide, please. So we wanted to make it simple to apply, because sometimes, I don't know if you've had to write through so many grant application forms. I know Uncle Marshall has, working with Wade, so many. And they can be very tedious. They can ask so many questions. They can be so off-putting. So we wanted to give you 6 easy steps, 5 things to do. Well, 6 things to do, but 5 questions, or 5 things to cover. First of all, the name of the project. That's very simple, right? That can even be, the first thing to do. Okay, I have this idea. What can I call it? The great so-and-so. The super amazing event for young people. I don't know, right? That can even be something, right? That can help us. And these are also ways to help us substantialize the idea so that it doesn't just become a concept, but we can really make it real. Number 2, the dates the project will start and the estimated end, right? So building a framework of a time frame. If it's an existing project, then the current timeline and the project's history. So again, this doesn't mean it has to be a new project that you are looking to apply for. It can be something that you're already working on and are looking for an infusion. 3, a description of what the project is about. So this doesn't have to be an essay, doesn't have to be all written. And we know many of us aren't the most articulate in terms of wording. But what we can do, but you can also then offer a video pitch if you're not someone that is confident to write it down or verbally in front of people, but sort of record yourself and send it through. We welcome different ways, PowerPoint. The main thing is getting across what the project's about. It can be, even a compilation of what you've done before if it's an existing project. So we, the committee, those that will be sitting to the finance group, can really understand, okay, what is it they're looking to do, and ultimately, and of course, does it align with the goals that we are trying to create here with regards to FFWPU as well. And tell us how you intend to move forward. So it may not be, okay, what we are about, but okay, what you're trying to do. Do you have a goal in mind? How do you intend to scale up with this financing? What are you actually trying to do with it, right? Number 4. Next slide, please. Who will be involved in running the project? So who is in your current team, including stakeholders? Tell us what kind of partners or skills you need to take the next step. So again, we don't want just to hear what is happening, but we want to also give you the ideas of how to help you figure out how to build the steps. Right? We're trying to provide that a little bit. So, yeah, what kind of skills, what kind of partners, what are you looking for in that sense to move forwards? And number 5, what outcomes are you expecting from the project? So what are the results you're looking for? What is the impact you want to have? Is it big? Is it small? Can you count it? Is it measurable? And number 6, submission. Just send your ideas to us. And of course, it says here for the 5th, because that was in terms of if you have something to be able to present here. And of course, we have some people presenting here today. But this doesn't mean, okay, every Community Connects, I have to make sure I'm ready. You can submit ahead of time. This is ongoing, to receive that kind of support. And then Community Connects is an opportunity to be able to, again, present yourself. Yeah, next slide, please. So again, coming back to this framework, these 3 pillars that we have, the idea is that we are trying to impact in these 3 areas, right? Developing community, building better communities, and serving society. And so if you have maybe some things you want to discuss or converse with some people, some ideas, there are a few details above whom you can talk to. These are, for developing community workshop, Raymond Bateman and Cindy van der Stock are a few of to mention that are sort of championing that at the moment, right, in our North Thames community. Building better communities, Chris Labar and, of course, Elder Peter Schroeder are also people you can talk to and say, I have this idea, do you have any ideas of how I can sort of develop that, move forwards? Do you have any ideas of what steps I can take? And serving society, our sister Naomi Sato, Joanna D'Souza, they're also available for that sort of level of support as well. And of course, they will also be around standing in these 3 areas that we have dotted around the room so that you can have that conversation with them later today as well, if you are brimming with an idea that you can't wait to start. Okay, we can move to the last slide, please. Yeah, last one. Next. And one more. Yes. Let's make it happen. So let's not keep these ideas as ideas. Let's not keep them as thoughts. Let's take that leap. Let's make that push. Let's try and do something. And I think the biggest thing is trying. That is really important. So yeah, let's make it happen. Thank you. Okay. So we will now have a few presentations from people in our community that are championing different projects and activities. And again, they will be within the framework of worship, and then we'll have some on community building, and then we'll have some on serving society. Now, just to speak on worship a little bit, we do not actually have someone here to present in person, but of course, as you may know who they are, we have Raymond Bateman, and we have for here in Central London, Cindy van der Stock and Aryan Rai, who are sort of championing those areas. And if you have any questions or any interest in being able to support and get involved in music, in worship, in serving the community through the Sunday services, please contact them and get involved. I believe a couple weeks back we had Auntie Ann Cotter and Uncle Patrick Clark here on the stage singing alongside me. That was really wonderful. It doesn't have to be a young person. If you have that heart, you have the voice, please join us. It could be helping with holy tables on holy days. It could be being a greeter at the door. It's always nice to have a beautiful smiley face. Greet me at the door. It's amazing. It could be also helping out with catering after the services. So there are many areas that we can actually support in that, and it's not just a young people thing. And again, we're trying to encourage everybody to see where they can help out, where if there's a need, how they can fill it, and to take that step. So the first official presentation we'll have will be about community building, and it will be on the North Thames News. So I'd like to invite up Peter Schroeder. So please invite him up to the stage, everybody.
Good afternoon. How are you all? Yeah? It's nice to see you. I was not at the Sunday service, but I made it here. So I want to represent the North Thames News, and I will use paperwork also in my presentation, yeah? So, my name is Peter Schröder. I'm a member of the East London community, and I will introduce you to the North Thames News. This is a newsletter which was published first on the 19th of January and covers all 3 regions of the North Thames community. This is an initial project, and the 3 issues of that newsletter there will be 3 issues until the end of April this year. And in the following, you will hear about 3 things: the project itself, the tasks which are involved in that project, and the benefits. My objective is today to win members to participate in the creation, production and continuation of the newsletter. So far the introduction, yeah? So first we come to the project itself. As you know, we have a lot of news channel in our community, emails and WhatsApp messages. Many of these are based on information, or they cover national or international issues. We want to make a difference. We want to focus on local news and on stories. Stories which have the quality to touch on emotion. So that is a very important issue, the emotions. Yeah? A book which was called, or is called How to Publish a Newsletter says, to win readers and keep them, you have to provide emotional stimulation. So that's a very important. We think actually it's always information, but it isn't always. So if you read a nice story and it's well written and you dive into that story, it touches your heart, it touches your emotion, it drags you on. You are dragged into the story. So basically, a good story is well written, and even without your knowledge, you are in the story, basically. So the concept was to have at least, with our first issue, to have at least 1 essay in the newsletter and 1 interview. New ideas came floating also in such as having a section in the paper about the 3 stages of life: the newborn, the marriages, and the event of passing into the next world. So this is all, we started with it, but this is the future, yeah, to cover these issues. The paper also features projects. Weight was featured in the last newsletter. While the front page should always carry some up-to-date news, the last page is reserved for editorial or small comments. And then important also, William, our pastor, should have a voice through the newsletter. This can be found always on page 2, yeah? No, number 2. All right, so far the project, just a short introduction. What are the tasks which are involved in such a project? The production of a newsletter has multiple tasks, yeah? Typical are editing, layout, proofreading. And there are many others, yeah? For example, writing, of course, yeah? So if you have the ability to write or feel inspired, of course you can do, yeah? And layout we had already, studying the involved software, which is at the moment Publisher, and watching your environment, yeah? So you have constantly to watch what's going on out there, yeah? What is on WhatsApp, what is Michael Belcom saying, and so to be aligned to what happens, and we want to cover a niche with that newsletter. Yeah, so we want not to duplicate news. We want to have our own identity. So that's why it's important to see what happens around us. Finally, a very important ingredient is a give and take with each other. To listen, to discuss, and creating something together is of utmost importance. Yeah, a newsletter needs to have a team. It is not a one-person show, unless, of course, you are Superman. Yeah, and so far, Chris Lebar, the chairperson of our community, and as well my wife Gillian was involved. Yeah, so we worked somehow together. Yeah, so I got quite good advice from Chris on the way. And well, this was the task. Yeah, it's just touching a little bit the surface. Yeah, there are a lot of things involved. Yeah, your computer, for example, printer, paper, and what else we have there. Yeah, telephone calls. Yeah, communication. Yeah. So the third point now is the benefits. So what's the benefit of these newsletter? Yeah. For me, the benefits of a newsletter, are clear. For the community, this includes to unite. So we are 3 local communities. A newsletter can bridge this. Yeah, we can unite. We know from each other if you have inspired writers or some good ideas. Yeah. So unite is one point, and to get to know each other. So I believe actually in East London, not everybody knows who is in North London or in Central London even, yeah? And probably vice versa. I mean, we are a small community, but there are some extended family links also, yeah? And that would be a good opportunity because we are merged, and so we want to have one community, yeah? So at least know over these how do you call this, WhatsApp and all this, social media, yeah, through social media or through the newsletter. And I think the newsletter would provide the opportunity to, let's say, to express yourself. But I'll come to that. Where was I? To get to know each other, yeah, and to unite, yeah. For the readers, the benefit is to entertain, to be entertained and informed, and for the writers, yeah, the opportunity, as I said, to express themselves. Yeah. Note that every writer is welcome. Yeah, so every one of you can write a nice story, an episode in your life. Yeah. And through that to show your personality or your interest, yeah. So we would be very interested to hear from you. Remember, presenters usually at Sunday service, yeah. So our pastors and the Sunday service giver, yeah, they use their stories to bring their point across. So you hear stories on a Sunday service. And with a newsletter, it's now possible to do the same with an article. So this can be up to 500 words. I just put this forward, yeah. So try to limit yourself with 500 words maximum, yeah. I like also to see the half of it, yeah, 250 words, yeah. So you know, in exam sometimes or with GCSE, they ask you to write a story. With a limited amount of words, which is very good because it disciplines us, but it serves also the newspaper. Sorry, my wife says always I say newspaper, newsletter, yeah. And also it creates space, so we can have different stories. And ideally, an article, if you write something, there should be an illustration or a picture attached to make it a little bit more. Yeah, okay, yeah, so I'm coming to the conclusion. Anyway, the conclusion, however, to keep such project alive, we need ... question mark. So what do we need? The answer is 3 people, a trinity, to organize the newsletter. So in a conclusion, we covered in this presentation the project, the task, and the benefits. And I want to finish with a true father. He says, on projects such as home church, you should not work alone to achieve your goals. He suggests to work together as Trinity. That's it. And in my opinion, this counts also for the newsletter. So the question is, who is up for it? A Trinity is needed. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing that about the North Thames newsletter. Of course, I'm very sure a lot of us here have been inspired by it since you started, and hopefully some of us here feel encouraged or inspired or, curious enough to go and ask some more. So please do later on. Now we have our next presentation, and this will be on the Sow and Grow project, which is a project that Patrick, Hannah, and Yebony have been championing all the way in Colchester, directed more at young people. And I believe we have Yebony available on Zoom. Is that correct?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Amazing. So please invite us up, Yebony, to be able to present to us together today.
Or, I hope the internet connection holds out. I cannot see anyone, but I'm hoping you can hear me and see me. Is it all good, Raymond? Can I continue? I can see I'm lagging a bit.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me, and I'll continue talking if you can hear me. So I wanted to give a brief update, or I was asked to, on our community building project, and also to specifically say thank you to the North of the Thames community for your regular financial support over the past year. Very grateful, and I think it's very relevant for us to share what we've been doing this past year and what we hope to continue doing. So the name of the project is broader than Sow and Grow. That was one of the projects, but overall the umbrella is the UK Grassroots Initiative for Young Adults. It's myself and Patrick, as well as Carmel Mould, Grace and Insun Tribe, Mia Gardner, and Pyeongchan Dimbi. Those are the core staff that have been involved. The initiative came out of an post-HARP age. That age, let's say post-18, has been collectively neglected for a long time in the UK. And it's a decisive age to invest in. It's a university that needs to be navigated for many of those adult BCs. It's the time when matching and blessing becomes very serious. And it's the time where they need to define their young adult identity as a unificationist. I'd actually say personal pastoral care and relevant education are vital if young adult BCs are going to establish a confident identity. And in essence, we've been organising ongoing gatherings and workshops and pastoral support to offer personal care and spiritual education for young adult BCs in the UK. So I hope that frames it well. The content has definitely been specifically for matching and blessing and general internal spiritual growth as an adult. If I can share my screen, I will. I'll just show you. There were 2 weekend sisters events that we organised last year at our home. I'm sure you can. This was the most recent one that we had a Christmas, hence the Christmas tree. And you can see some of the staff there as well who have been ongoing. This one was specifically for 18 to 22-year-old sisters. And we had the first in April, the second in December. And what I found very encouraging to show how much this was needed was that every single sister that came the first time came the second time too. It was very much based on sharings as a group, one-to-one and small groups, allowing, I guess, allowing everyone to share where without, and then to offer some relevant internal input that is applicable for their situations right now to make some progress. We were 16 people in total and 5 staff, which I think was a huge part of the success of all of our events this last year. It's been very staff heavy, and that's been the point, to develop mentoring relationships between elder sisters and brothers and younger brothers and sisters, many of which have then continued outside of the events. We also had 2 brothers events, 2 brothers weekends at our home also, more for the 23 plus age group last year. And we've just ended this morning, was our substantial workshop, which we did in a place in Suffolk. It was the same staff group that has been helping from all those weekends. They organised a 4-day workshop. We were 35 people altogether. The motto was home, and it focused again on matching and blessing, on spiritual growth, and on community. There's lots to say about that, especially as it's fresh in my mind. But it was just wonderful to, let's say, culminate these last year's activities with a substantial workshop experience together that not. So I wanted to briefly share, as I was asked, about outcomes that we've seen and I can hopefully expecting, and how we go forward this year. So I would summarize it as 3 outcomes. The first one, a stronger sense of community. I think many of the participants have said how they feel a much stronger support network around them, of elder BCs and also of peers, this feeling that I'm not alone, I'm personally known by name, and I have people to go to when I need to, and I'm part of something beyond myself. Beyond just social networks and beyond friends, having elder brothers and sisters, relationships that have really, I think, offered substantial personal support beyond just lectures and content. That personal support, I think, has mattered a lot for people, especially in between the events. Those relationships have continued. And the third area, I would say, internal support. Let's put it that way: being heard, being understood, and being supported, and gaining personal input that you can move forward in your situation, and you have a community around to feel supported. What stood out for me personally in December, from the second Sisters Weekend we had with the same group of girls, was how much progress had happened just since the last weekend in April, and how seriously the sisters had taken wanting to grow and wanting to give a different update when we saw each other again. So I wanted to share this one testimony, that there were many, but they said similar things. So this is what she said. It's called Sow and Grow, and we have grown. It's been so good to see our growth and see where we've come from the first weekend to where we are now. It's also been so good for myself to look back to where I've come from and where I am now, and what I can still work on. I feel a great sense of pride in myself and in all of us. I don't know if there's many things that are better to feel, seeing yourself having grown and seeing others around here also having grown. So going forwards, we have a solid group of volunteers now that have been involved in all these activities. that are committed and dedicated to this work. We've got a strong foundation now, especially finishing this workshop this morning with the 35 group, one for the end of March and one for the end of May, for the elder UK sisters age group. So that's more the 24 to 32-year-olds. Same goal, pastoral support and relevant internal education. So that's what I wanted to share. And again, to say a really huge, sincere thank you for your ongoing support as a community. It makes a really big difference to have regular, consistent support every month. And it's subsidised a lot of the costs to make things affordable for BC volunteers and also pastoral visits. So that's my main message. Thank you. And I hope you can see the value of what you are giving your contributions to. Thanks, everyone.
So if everybody can face the camera at the back, we can just wave. Thank you so much, Ebony. Yeah, I can definitely echo the hard work that they've been doing there. I was one of the 35 on this young adults retreat workshop that ended this morning. And yeah, they are really doing some really amazing work. And as one of the people that are helping, thank you, of course, for supporting this initiative. But that is what this platform is about, is to be able to hear these reports, to be able to feel inspired, to feel a little bit warm inside. Really nice. But to move on, we're now going to look at some more presentations from our third pillar, serving society. So we're now looking broader than just us here, we're looking out there. Sometimes it's a little bit scary to look out there, but it's important to. And we'll be looking at an initiative that is quite well known to us, but it's always amazing to be able to hear from what they're doing, and that will be Wait UK. So I'd like to invite up our presenters for that.
Good afternoon, everybody, and also public speaking, so they can have the confidence to go out. And we want to really develop outreach as a result of this funding, and start like we did many years ago with the older Wait members. We were going out to churches, and some of you may know, we were doing a lot of outreach in the past, and we kind of stopped doing that. And we want to do that now, restart that kind of thing, so we can share our message, but also meet more young people out there, grow the Wait team, and also help help youth and society generally. Okay, so that's my pitch, but the main one will be given by Chris. So please welcome Chris van der Stok.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone online. So, okay, one moment. All right. So, for my presentation, so I'll just be talking a little bit about some of the details of the current proposal, and then so after the details, I'll be talking a little bit about how the pandemic has affected Wait UK's actions and activity, and then I'll elaborate on how the grant will help us in our ideas for outreach. And then after that I'll give a summary.
can't think of a joke to tell you. We have a technical problem.
You want to run through that one you're trying to tell us there?
I already told that before.
Well, that was good practice.
Do a breakdance.
Ah!
You're good at that anyway.
I'll break my legs.
May I suggest a little idea that for anyone to pick up, because I don't think I'm going to carry it myself. I was thinking in the line of recycling just before Christmas, a little bit too late to do something with it at that time. Candles. Everybody use candles. We get a lot of wastage. Holy candles, you get about a chunk like that at the end, not to mention what drops from time to time. If we harvested all those bits of candles, remove the stem, all what we need to do is a good wick and an old pan and maybe something to hold wicks once you have dipped them. And then you you let wax come together, remove, you can put some smelly one, some fragrant one as well in it for good measure. You dip the wick in it as many times as you need until you get the thickness wanted. You can also poke it here and there if you want to shape it in one way or the other. All what you need after that is some support to hold it. It can be the shape of a fir tree if you want, anything. It can be used all the time. But I was thinking how much wax we are throwing away in our bin, which could be used, which could also be a good channel to get harvest from also neighbors, connect, offer prepared things, or sell for helping this or that project and finance a project. Just an idea for anyone who wants to use.
Thank you, Anne.
Recycling,
Yes.
Doesn't like
Raven, I think you have to power the adapter.
Well, I don't know.
You have to put a power
It works with my phone. I don't know why it doesn't work with this particular thing.
Can we continue even without the presentation?
You know pretty much what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll do without that.
I can try. Yeah, I can try plugging in.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so once again, I'll be going over the proposal details, our problem, how the grant can solve a problem, and then a quick summary. So in terms of the proposal details, so for this section of our project, we'll go from the 4th of March to the 15th of April. The official name is Wait UK Outreach Programme, and the amount of money we are asking for is £500, and then the pillar that it comes under is Serving Society. So to do with our problem, this was brought on due to the COVID pandemic, and the reason that it caused the problem is because we weren't able to, still be in person. So that just meant that we weren't able to have practices in LG or Peace Embassy. So that led to a lack of activity. So many plans that may have been done or needed to, or thought of for that year were stopped. And so go a couple years on. It's now in 2022. In September 2022, five previous Wait members left, and then just recently 2 more Wait members left. However, members leaving isn't usually a problem because we will get a steady flow of members coming in and members going out. However, we haven't had more people coming in, so now our team is getting small. So So how the grant can solve our problem. So, as we need more people on our team, this grant can pay for travel and also providing food if we want to go busking, maybe if we want to go to, say, a town or a city in England and we want to perform there and let the people know there about what weight is, what they do, that £500 is going to allow us to do that and to hopefully bring in new members who are interested in the weight message. Now, leading on from that will lead to a stronger team bond and a willingness to learn in those members that are currently there. Because of the COVID pandemic has led to a lack of activity, that means the team hasn't had important experiences together to unify themselves, right? So this £500 is going to help us to counteract that issue, to, in a sense, reunify everyone, bring everyone closer together, and once again more willing to learn. And why is that important? Because the end goal of WAIT is in fact to go to countries where teaching HIV/AIDS awareness is incredibly important due to how badly it's affecting, whichever country we plan to go to. Often the teachings that we will bring to those countries is never been something that they've heard before, as in terms of like the people who attend the presentations, attend those events. So it's quite important for them to learn, and it's also really kind of like groundbreaking for the actual members to go there and to teach, because I haven't been to any African country which is where HIV and AIDS is a big problem. Of course, there are other countries outside of Africa that have that problem, but I haven't been to many countries abroad. So for me, I can say for myself that this would certainly be a very interesting experience, and certainly an experience that I would like to have during my time in WAIT. Yeah. So, and then that kind of snowballs. So the more someone will go to a country and to teach life-changing information to the people who really need it, who are in fact suffering, the more those people who teach it will be willing to pass it on. And so in that way, WAIT can stand the test of time, because there will always be people who want to pass on the message and who have lived it, right? So they are the ones who are able to express it more or less in the best way, because they've experienced it firsthand. Right. Yeah. So to summarize, so the end goal of using the grant is to provide much needed education to those who need it. Of course, £500 may not necessarily pay for, however many trips WAIT does in the future. However, it's a starting stone to get us moving again. And then, all right, so this grant is intended to solve two problems at once. Number one, the need for new members, and number two, a lack of HIV/AIDS education. So the need for new members, that would be more like a short-term thing. And then a lack of HIV/AIDS education would be like a long-term thing, right? And then, so just a quick note, any money left over at the end of the estimated period will be reinvested into future projects. Yeah, so, yeah, and then just to finish off, I found this quote quite a while ago, and I decided to put it on my tablet lock screen, because it's a really nice quote. So the quote goes, "Those who walk with God always reach their destination." So yeah, just a casual reminder. Yeah. So yeah, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Just one last thing to add. Thank you, Chris. He did a good job, didn't he? Yeah. He mentioned the training, which is very important, the education we're going to give the weight team. But there's one person sitting in this room who's also going to help us, and that is Mr. David Rennie, because we're going to invite him to come as part of that funding. Maybe the initial part of the funding is to give the weight team confidence to share their message. So they need to learn public speaking. So we're going to invite, he already told him today, we're going to invite David Rennie to give one presentation, probably here in Lancaster Gate, one fine day, once we get the grant, and we'll arrange that with David, and he'll empower them to not just want to learn the weight message and learn, make it their own, but have the confidence to go and do outreach. Thank you so much. Thank you.
He told me I volunteered.
Thank you so much. It's always very amazing to hear from Wait and all the work that they're doing. Of course, being previous Wait alumni, I always have a soft spot in my heart for Wait. Now to hear from another presentation, and if I can remind everyone to sort of keep it somewhat brief. We are running a bit over time schedule, so it's fine, but aim for 5 minutes, and I'll sort of be there to sort of give you a timer sort of mention. But we'll have our next presentation from our brother Ron Chandler on the FFWPU River North Activist Group. So please invite him up with a round of applause.
Give you a few moments to read that. This is a new project. And what I hope to do today is just to sow the seeds of something which, in my mind, is really big. Now, what I would like to start is a positive activist group within our church. I don't know if you've looked at the news recently, but I saw something in which 6 people superglued their hands to the M25, and they got 6 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news. Everybody knows about this rebellion group, yeah? 6 people. And that is what I call a negative activist. What I propose is a positive one where we can use social media to get some kind of, I'd like to think we can be the go-to place for people who want to understand what's happening in society with this woke culture. And what's happening is they're using believable lies. And a part of this presentation goes on in which I put 50 believable lies that are becoming mainstream truths. And I asked myself, well, where do these believable lies come from? And actually, we all know the answer to that. It happened in the Garden of Eden when Lucifer said, did God really say you can't eat of the fruit? Well, I'm sure it wasn't one sentence. It was a plan, and the plan was to take control. And he used seduction and believable lies to achieve that aim. And that is what's going on in society today. The Marxists, the woke activists are using believable lies to change culture. You better get on to the next one, Raymond. So, how are we going to do that? And to be quite honest, I haven't got the faintest idea. All I use is WhatsApp and Zoom. A few weeks ago, I heard of something called TikTok. Have you heard of that? Yeah. What is it? I don't need to know now. I'm researching myself. Instagram. Young people are on their laptops, their tablets, their smartphones, 24 hours a day, looking at TikTok, looking at Instagram, And it's being used. You better go to the next one. So the question is, how can we, as a church, who have the deepest understanding of what's going on, we understand the motivation behind the woke culture, we understand what they're trying to do, and they are trying to take control, and they're using believable lies to achieve that aim. Better go to the next one. Yeah. And the next one. There's 50 on here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through the first one. What people are saying is a man can become a woman, and a woman can become a man. You and I know this is absolute rubbish. Every cell in our body, all 37 trillion, will tell you, I am a man, because the 23rd chromosome on our DNA tells us it's either XX or XY. A man can pretend to be a woman. He has free will. A woman can pretend to be a man. The problem is when our politicians make it a law that someone can just change. And we see in sport, I saw a program where young ladies are totally destroyed because mediocre men decided they want to be called women, and they're now taking records and taking all the top prizes. And this sister said, the best I can ever become in my sport is third, because the first two are men who are pretending to be women. And it's having a really negative effect on society. So before I put this together, I was praying, what does God want? Who are the people who should be saying, whoa, stop, what's going on with these lies? And the answer is religion, Christianity. But sadly, most of it is silent. And I've asked a few in my local village, why don't we do something? We might get cancelled. We better not do anything. Politicians, teachers, doctors, professionals are self-centering because they do not want to be cancelled and lose their job. Therefore, everyone is silent. So what I'd like to do is to say, is there anyone in our group who knows how to use a computer, who has some experience of social media, who wants to join me in a positive activist group to say, these are the believable lies, and we're going to tell you why they're a believable lie, how they're being used, what is the motivation, and what is going to be the result if we do not say anything. So I would like, in my mind, to see in weeks, months come by, as we establish a social media impact, we are the place where people go to who really want to understand what's going on. But it's just me, it's just an idea, and I just want to sow this seed today to say, if you're interested, I'm happy to go through the next 50 believable lies that are being established as truths and are causing incredible disruption to young adults. And that includes our own second gen. I had a young sister from America come across some months ago. Oh, I was shocked at how she's taken on completely on board the woke culture, the diversity. Of course, if a man wants to be a woman, no problem. So don't think it's not affecting our church or our children. It is. And people like Marshall with Wait, they're doing their best to really go out there and give people another aspect of what is the truth. That's it. If anybody wants to find out more after the lunch, I'll be happy to tell you.
Are you going to send the PowerPoint out to everybody?
I'll give it to anybody who wants it, but it's a work in progress. I've only done the first two with some kind of explanation. It's a work in progress. There's a lot more to do, but I need support, I need some guys like Raymond who fiddles around with his laptop and his streaming and his, come on. I'm too old to do this alone. I need some help. So let's see what we can do. And if you're interested, let me know. And you know, sometimes sometimes I think, what are the Marxists doing in the evenings? And the vision I have is there's 10 of them sitting in a smoke-filled room, drinking their lager, and they are so inspired about what they're going to destroy next. And actually, that is a principle. It's called unity. They are so united, and they're having such an impact. And what are we doing? Seriously, what am I doing? Am I sitting around till midnight thinking, what can I do? How can I get out there? Up to now, I have to say, it's been no. But I'm going to try and do something. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron, for that. And yeah, I agree. There are a lot of believable lies out there. I really found that interesting how you phrased that. And there's something, if anything, we can reflect upon and figure out how we can impact society in a more positive way. Sort of provide an message to what is being shared out there usually. We'll now have our next presentation, which will be on Artists for Peace and Children's Art Contest, and that will be delivered by our sister Joanna D'Souza. So please invite her up.
She's come specially today for this. She'll not be well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tyler. Hello, everybody. I have nothing to share on the screen, but I want to present a very beautiful project that was started a few years ago by our Women's Federation. We always look for ways to share about the work of our true parents, and Women's Federation is a very important project. But it's for families, actually. It's not just for women, it's for families. So we look for a way to embrace the family and the moral things of the family. One sister, who's an artist in Bromley area, she thought of this project. About,
you stand near the microphone?
She thought about the project for children. She's an artist, so she was very keen to share with her children and with children of the community and further afield, actually. So we have all over the UK, in Birmingham, South London, Scotland, everywhere, children have been asked to produce paintings. And once a year this takes place, usually around, I think from July onwards until September, October, the children are working on their paintings. And the good thing about it is they're working with their parents or elder brothers and sisters. There are 3 age groups, from age 5 till 16. We have a set of 3. There are 3 winners in each group. Usually the project that they have is about nature, about the environment, and actually this calendar is the first time we've produced one, and it's a calendar sharing the work of all of the 9 winners of the competition from age 5 onwards. We have one of our little girls from this community, Anastasia Torok. She won a prize. So the work is beautiful. I mean, I'm so happy that Allah decided to share some of the beautiful work of the children. And actually, it's a very educational project because the children are working with the parents. And for the past few years, 2 years anyway, from 2020, 2021, because of the pandemic, they couldn't meet. So everyone worked at home. And the work was presented online through Zoom. And the winners were chosen from online. There's always a team of 4 or 5 people, plus judges. And from every region, of course, the Women's Federation captain or person responsible would share the information with all the members. We would love to have more children involved, and we are also keen to share with our schools, our local communities. So we hope the project will get bigger. We always have to fundraise for it because there is prizes for all the winners. So we'd be really grateful for the help of our North Thames community. The purpose of the project actually is that the children from their environment at the time that they're given to choose the project is, for instance, in 2019, 2020, we had the terrible pandemic. So the children stuck at home with their parents, they had to choose how the actual environment was affecting them. And their paintings were based on that. The year this was done, 2022, this one is Victoria, aged 10. She wrote about to protect our planet. The purpose was how to protect the planet, because suddenly it's become very aware, we've become made aware that we're in trouble because of the terrible environmental situations with all our, look what happened in Turkey, Syria, the terrible earthquake, look what's happening around the world with the floods, the fires. All of this is because we have been so careless. Children are affected and they are sharing how they feel we can protect the planet through the work they're doing. They always choose a topic. The new topic for 2023 is My Dream. So we're waiting to find out how they're going to express that in their painting. This calendar I borrowed from the Torok family because I needed to have something to share with you. I hope it means a lot when you see it. You have a look at it as you go by. We'll have it on that table. Yeah? Sorry?
Look at the mic. Look at the mic. Be close to the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, have a good look at it because it says a lot. The children are very moved to make these drawings. And if you have grandchildren, please get them involved. We want many children to participate. I have a school near me, local school, Hallfield Estate, and I'd like to pop along and ask the teachers there if the children can be involved. You need to find the right way to ask them, but we really want to have as many people as possible involved in this. The purpose is bringing the parents together with the children, and the children have great joy in this. I've asked my nieces and nephews to participate, and I bought a few calendars to give them all, each family one, so that they can see what they will be doing and they can be inspired. So I'd love for you to do it too. Okay. I'm sorry I don't have so much more to share, but we have a very good system, and Arts for Peace is really important for the children to feel involved with sharing their thoughts and their love for the earth. It's really important. We're leaving the earth for them. It's important that we know how they feel, how to protect our earth. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sister Joanna. It's really amazing to hear what you're doing with the young children. And I remember seeing the pictures, but I didn't know they turned it into a calendar, so that's really amazing to see. And now we'll have our last presentation of the evening, and this will be for the Young Women's Speech Contest, and this will be given by our sister, Krista Rennie. So please invite her up, everybody, with a round of applause.
Hello everybody here and online, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this particular project. I'm very much with it right from the beginning when we began. So it is the project of the Women's Federation for World Peace, UK. And can you start with the next one? Our inspiration we have taken from our co-founder, Mother Moon, and as you can see, the 3 directives she gave to us is advocacy and outreach, building solid foundations, and raise up future leaders. And what we have experienced now since we began, that especially the idea of advocacy and outreach and the opportunity through this program to raise future leaders has substantially grown and developed. So our vision for Women's Federation was to together with realize a global family rooted in the culture of peace. And we do that by empowering women as peace builders and leaders in the family to transform the community, society, and nation and world, ultimately. Then you have the team who works together to produce this project every year. And then our story, I think we can go a little bit into that. We began in 2015, and the idea came actually from a project under the same name from our Japanese movement, who had developed it for their foreign-speaking students in Japan. So then Mrs. Taiko Duckworth took it up for and adapted it for Women's Federation here in the UK. And from 2015 to 2021, we could say it is primarily an educational program because it invites the young people, the young women, to deal with leadership issues for women and building confidence and public speaking skills, and also to invite them to, through the speech contest, to talk about their own commitments, values, and their own opinions. So, and the environment we are creating is one where they can be free to express how they feel. I think that's very important for young women. And we include also the UN SDGs goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. The theme of the annual speeches are always coordinated and around women, and have to do with one of these goals from the UN. Speech content. Yes, there you can see there are certain requirements which are already being put out on social media and our website when young women are invited to apply and submit. Then they already are given these instructions how to do it, the application form, and the different points they have to comply with. Then we have an interview being scheduled for all those ones who want to go through with the process. And then there will be an evaluation taking place on speaking skills, content, presentation skills, and certain questions possibly. And step 3, we also offer the time that they can rehearse a little bit and get a little bit of tips and education how to speak in public if they want to. And then you can see that. And then the final point is there, the finals, which take place usually in October here in LG. And the speech, they have to give the speech, and 7 finalists are chosen, and then out of them we have 3 winners who receive a prize and a recognition. And they, for instance, they get invited to subsequent public meetings. And a couple of times we had, when we had house meetings in the House of Lords. They were invited to speak there or to be convener or moderator for the program. That's quite exciting for these young women. And then we have the code and conduct for how to dress, which is also helpful because they can't come in jeans or anything like that. And it's funny, the last year in 2022, we had the topic was on something with recycling. And one of the ladies came in a dress which she had made herself, according to the project she was talking about. Quite interesting. Very decent, though. One thing I would like to mention, even though we started in 2015, for the last 2 years, we have now branched out in the different branches in Birmingham, South London, Central London, Bromley, and... No, not Wales. Wales hasn't got it yet. No, only a few chose. There, the branch coordinators took it upon themselves to initiate. And again, when the theme is chosen for the year, it will be first taken up by the branches, and then also it will be the same theme on the national level. So in that sense, they are coordinated. So we are very grateful for those who have taken it up in the branches and gave people, young women, an opportunity to apply for it. I must say that initially the idea was there, it's an opportunity for our second gen to speak in public about their ideas and their visions and ideals. But if I can put a number on it, I think 2/3 of all the applicants we have over the last few years since the beginning, 2/3 is young women from outside, what I call outside for a better word. And how it happens is that the coordinators reach out in their network of contacts. It gets advertised through social media, and some applicants also came in the past 2 years, through having seen the advertisement or the publications for it on our website. So that's a good thing, Jeannie. I would like to mention that 2022, 2021, we have gone abroad with the same project. The speech contest was held and organized in Albania, in Uganda, and there's in Portugal, and there is interest to conduct it organize it in Serbia as well as in Bangladesh. And the way it can develop that is through the young women who were involved with the speech contest actively, who then have looked back into where they come from. And they want to do something, and they want to mobilize their network back in their home countries, where they come from, maybe to try there. So I think that is there is a lot of scope and opportunity to go international. But what we also found out that even though here in Britain we have the same topic, we stick to it, internationally they are a little bit, give them the freedom to vary, because it doesn't necessarily apply in the same way or work in the same way internationally as we keep it here. You know? So we'll support that. And what has come out of it, this whole the work over the years, and the interest which was shown by these young women who went through the whole process, that first of all they built a network for the alumni, the people who were in past being part of it. And the other thing, the more active part of it, some of these women, about half a dozen now, have formed and developed very close relationships and thus developed a team or teamwork with which they actually are becoming the organizers of the Young Women's Speech Contest. As you know, Mitty has been given greater responsibility, so she wants to actively have these young women being educated, and some of them have read the biographies of our founder. Some have got one lady from Serbia. She actively knows the divine principles because she works with on the Greenwich University with Mrs. Davis together, and she is very engaged. So they get spiritually closer to us, but in a practical sense, they organize things. They work together, they bond, they form closer relationships, and have an opportunity in this project to work together. So, yeah, that's all I have to talk about. The last slide. Yeah, there are some contacts and so forth. I was asked to give a presentation. I don't know about asking for money. But I'm sure Mitty is serious about it. Yeah, but it would be a help. Yes. And one more thing is the theme for this year's competition is youth participation and leadership, peacemaking and reconciliation. So once a poster, which has been designed at the moment, once a poster is there for public, please send it out everywhere to your network and pray that it will bring in the young people. There's a lot of opportunity to hook into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sister Krista. And I want to say thank you to everyone that took the time to share their presentations and deliver them. I'm very sure a lot of us are able to really gain a lot from that and really get a great insight into the different activities and different things that are being championed in and around our community. I just would like to just mention a few other projects that are sort of being championed as sort of honourable mentions. So with regards to the worship pillar, the worship area, we of course have our Sunday service coordinators, and of course Cindy Vanderstock, Aryan Rai for here in central London. We have Raymond Bateman, who does a lot for North London, and of course Ron Chandler, who does a lot for the East London communities. So we'd just like to mention them as well, that is something that is going on, and that is actively still being supported. Either they are self-funded or receiving some sort of financial support from us in the FFDPU North Thames. We of course have Children's Sunday School and the summer camp activities that take place, mainly by Chris Labar and Kyoka. So we'd like to just also mention them as well. And of course Auntie Diana as well. Yes. We have Building Community. So in Building Community, we have the UTS Alumni Academic Forum, which is being championed by, again, Uncle Chris Labar. And in Serving Society, we have activities like the Watford Interfaith and Peace Garden Project, which is being championed by Jeff Bateman and Francois Murphy. We have the Milton Keynes Interfaith, which is being championed by David Rennie. We have the Morality Forum, which is being championed by John O'Neill. We have the World Culture Association, which is being championed by Peter Graham. And we have the newly sort of early stages of the refugee project being championed by William Haynes. So these are some of the activities we are championing or are sort of in the plans to be championed. Either they have been submitted their proposals but have not presented, it's just something to show that we are really trying to grow and build something here. And there's a lot to be able to talk about, there's a lot to be able to get involved in, and hopefully there's a lot of things that has helped you or inspired you with some ideas of how to also become community champions. So we will now have a break before we have our final session, which will be the convention. So please take the time to stretch your legs, get a drink. There should be some refreshments downstairs. Refreshments just outside the door there. So please happily go take a refreshment, and we will organically start the convention in about 15 minutes. So yes, thank you very much, everybody. Let's take a break.